I look upon you boys with pride, and for what you've done, I'm going to kiss each one. Then they all grab their sticks and cry, goodbye, goodbye. Oh, where's the dear baby dear from your eye? Though it's hard to pass, I know.
Hello, and welcome to the Black Country History Hunter. Today we're in Brierley Hill and we're looking at the First World War and the very first day of First World War. I'm sitting up here now on the car park overlooking some of Brierley Hill and mostly down to Wordsley. But the scene behind me back then, 1914, was a lot different to what it is today, guys. It would have been industry, chimneys, smoke, hustle, bustle, noise. It would have been very impressive. Today we're going to go through the town. We're going to go to the post office where the war was declared firstly. There was no communications then. And we're going to follow a man called Lieutenant Allden. Lieutenant Allden went all the way through the war and unfortunately died right at the very end. So it's a very sad story. We're going to talk about the day he found out the war was happening, the day he left Brierley Hill, and let's go and see what's what.
And song will rally at her call. Grit and pride will never let her exalt, but we'll never let the old flag fall. We'll never let the old flag fall.
In the heart of the Black Country, sitting proud and prominent on a slope, sits Brierley Hill, a hard-working industrial town built on steel, coal and meat. You had the famous Marsh and Baxters, we have the famous market behind us. But in 1914, the era we're going back to, the market was there but not covered. The urinal was just there and another one at the back. That's another story. We're going to be walking down now to the post office where in 1914 events took a bad turn. Basically what was going on, Germany was going to war with other countries. Now a bullet rang out and a certain person was killed in a faraway country, and because of that murder, war was set into place. There were certain alliances between Germany, which was set in 1839, that we would protect the Belgium's neutrality. Belgium was invaded by Germany, so we said, you've got till 11 o'clock tonight, this is on the 4th of August, to withdraw your troops or we will be at war. So we're walking down to the post office now. The day war was given out, posters were putting up in that window. So up in the post office window, the post office is still there, but it's not the post office now. Posters, 2 posters went up. Telegram would have come in. The telegram, there was no phones then, guys, no television. The only way they would have known, I think soldiers in the area actually were aware that a war was coming. They were prepared. They had been on exercise. They'd just come back off exercise. They were told to stay on tenterhooks because they knew the ultimatum had been given and nothing had been heard back as yet. Time was ticking down to Armageddon. Let's walk down to the post office and see the amazing building itself. What was I? So yeah, we're outside the post office now, guys. So basically, in 1914, on that fateful day, 8 o'clock, a telegram would have come through to this very post office telling people that it was on, the war was on, Britain and Germany were at war. Nobody understood the catastrophe that was about to befall the people of Brierley Hill. Hundreds were going to be dead from Brierley Hill. The monument up there is a testament to that. So on that day, the notice went up, and we're going to head up to the drill hall now where the notice told people to go. But if Burt, cameraman, can just zoom in there now, Burt, just have a look at that and show the people exactly what was put up that day. Look at that, guys. War intimate. All soldiers report to Brierley Hill Drill Hall, Pearson Street today. 2 of these signals, 2 of these posts went up. This whole post office would have been surrounded by people. There would have been hundreds of people. And Mr Aldridge, or Mr Alder, or Lieutenant Alder, would have been battling his way through the crowds to see this message. As a reservist, he knew he had to go to the drill hall, and that's where he went. Come on, let's go and find the drill hall, Bert. Right, guys, so we're walking down to the drill hall now through Brierley Hill High Street. Historic High Street. To my left would have been Marsh and Baxters. Many people remember Marsh and Baxters. Bert's in front now, just pushing the camera equipment. Yeah, it's a pretty chilly day today. But on that fateful day, Lieutenant Alder and a lot of other men were high-spirited. You know, there was people singing in the streets. We'll talk more about that in a minute, the patriotism of the day. But in general, people were singing in the streets. People were very happy. They didn't realise what was about to befall them. They didn't understand war. It's been a few years since we've been on the war, continent on the war. Over 100 years, I believe, Waterloo times, when the French were fighting us. So we'd never had an army on the continent since then. And the days of gunpowder and muskets were gone. You know, the war would be different. It would be fought with machine guns and howitzers. it would be deadly. You know, men would get teared apart. It was Burt's got his spokey dokey and nothing. What's that noise? He's got his spokey dokey. I remember the Kellogg spokey dokies. So yeah, so I'm laughing, but it's not. I know, it's my Harley Davidson. Yeah, so I'm making light of this, but it's not a light thing to talk about. So on that day, he'd have walked down from the post office towards Pearson Street. It was a dark, cold day. It was drizzling. So it's August the 4th, coming up to, well, it's not that long ago it's happened to it in time of the month for us. But they headed this way, and they was marching up here towards the drill hall. Hundreds of men, thousands came out. This is 8 o'clock at night. And by 10 o'clock, thousands of people were in the streets. You know, it would have been a sight to behold. The excitement in the air, they didn't realise what it was going to be. They all thought the war was be over by Christmas. You've heard that thing, haven't you? The war will be over by Christmas. But obviously it didn't turn out that way, just passing the historic markers again. It didn't turn out that way. The war wasn't over by Christmas. And Mr Allden and lots of other men lost their lives there. But Mr Allden, to me, is a sad one. Not just because he lost his life there, it's because he went through the whole war, guys. From the very beginning, the first day the notice went up in the post office, he marched to the drill hall. I'll put a picture up now of the drill hall, guys, up Pearson Street. This is the only picture I can find of it. Not many pictures exist of it, if any that I know to. If you know to any, let me know. It's quite a big building. It was opposite the old Labour Exchange. My neighbour Ernie was telling me that he went there to join the army when he did his conscription, you know, in the 40s and the 50s. But yeah, so this drill hall, men and women, men would have been heading there on this day. Women would have been there as well, saying goodbye to their sweethearts, their loved ones. There would have been tears as well as songs. They headed to Pearson Street towards the Dog and Partridge, which was there then, old pub. Right down this road we're walking now, marching, determinedly marching, knowing there was a purpose to them, you know. They were going to war with Germany. Germany had done a bad thing. We told them to get the hell out of Belgium. Germany refused, and the consequence was coming, and that was 80,000 British men landing in France and giving the Germans, the Kaiser, a boot. Didn't turn out that way, did it? It turned out to be a 4-year slugging match with almost 1 million British men and Empire men dying. Awful, awful, awful. So yeah, Empire men as well as British men. The Empire went to war with us. It was part of our empire at the time. We lost a lot of the empire after World War I. So yeah, we're just turning up into Pearson Street now. And just here, the street was a lot longer back then, guys. Let me just turn it around. A lot longer back then. The street would have gone right back to past the Asda and past the chemist. And it was basically a long street. So they came up that day. Mr Allden came up that day in his equipment with his backpack on, 100% knowing that that day he was hoping to set off that minute. And they did set off that night, but they were waiting for orders. Hundreds of people sat here waiting, family members as well. All this street was blocked with people. And it was a patriotic day. Apparently, they all sang songs like God Save the King and Rule Britannia at the top of their voices.
The charter of the land, and God an angel sang this strain.
And 110 of the men were up here at the drill hall. So all up here, this road here, you can see this road here on a map. At the very top right-hand side was the drill hall that backed up onto the football pitch. They must have done drills on the football pitch, practiced and things. But on that day, just there on the car park where we're going now, 100 men, well over 100 men, waited for orders. They sat there through the night. And even though people had to open up their shops the next day and had work, they sat with them. Now, I'll tell you exactly where the entrance was. They sat with them, guys. The entrance was just there. So next time you're doing your shopping up here, just remember, you know, 119 years ago, from 2023, 119 years ago, men collected here, right here, ready to go to war. So they sat here through the night, folks. And eventually, just in the morning, about 8 o'clock in the morning on the 5th, they had orders to march to Warsaw. Not get picked up, nothing like that. They had to march, guys. So they marched to Warsaw from here so that they come back down here. It was raining, apparently. Some family members marched with them right until the very end. When these men arrived at Warsaw, within a few days, guys, they were on boats and they were on the way to France, and they would have ended up being at the Battle of Mons, where many of them would have died. But not our Mr Allden. Our Mr Allden continued to the war. He went through the Mons, the Wipers, the Somme, went right through to the end, 1918. And in 1918 he died, so he never got to come back home, which is very sad for me. I don't know if he came home on leave. Somebody has to tell me if that was something. I know the trenches, they did stints, so a couple of weeks in the front, a couple of weeks out, and they revolved because the front line would kill you eventually just from being there. You know, it was one of those sorts of places. But yeah, we're just walking back down to the town now, guys. So that's it, guys. So we're walking back down now. What we're going to do, Bert, we're going to go up to the church. I'll see if we can find Mr Allden's grave. I mean, that's an amazing thing. When I first read about the first day of war in Brierley Hill and the way they burst into song all around, that patriotism, I did ask Bert the question earlier. I wonder what would happen if war was declared today and the poster went up in the post office. You know, how many people would turn up at the drill hall or at where the civic centre and sign up? I don't know. I might be surprised. But I don't know. I can't say, can I? Better not say anything, had I? Because if I do, I'll end up in Nick. Right. Anyway, so we're marching down now. As they march down, but they would have had to march all the way to Warsaw, guys. That's a long way to march all through the night. They got there 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they would have disembarked for France, man. Imagine the next thing they know, them in France. And when they got to Mons, apparently, the people, they accepted them as heroes because they were marching on the Germans, the bad guys in Belgium. And they plied them with drink and women, and not a good thing for an army to be plied with drink and food because it becomes fat and lazy. Anyway, they believed that the British side of the battle, on the left side flank of the line, was not a very bad place to be. The French believed it was a bywater of nothing. But in actual fact, unbeknown to them, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Germans were coming down in a swinging action to hit that part of the Mons, and they would fall on the British positions. Now, the British, even though it was 80,000 men, were a well-trained army. The BEF, the British Expeditionary Force, were old soldiers. They were a well-trained, well-equipped, well-drilled. You know, they could shoot lots of shots a minute. You know, they got extra pay if they were a rifleman or a marksman, extra money for a tart, extra money for a bit of beer, for a wet canteen. So when I was in the army, you got no extra money for being a marksman, but you got a badge. But yeah, so they got extra money. So most of the men in that 80,000 strong BEF were marksmen. How are you, pal? They were marksmen. And those men and women, or men, I keep saying men and women because today's army we have men and women. But back then it was just men. So those men, they would have been paid extra money for being marksmen. And they reckon that when the Germans first came onto the British lines in Mons, the rate of fire that these men were giving off towards the Germans was so bad, it was horrific. You know, they were dropping like flies. But the amount of men the Germans had, it was only a matter of time before they pushed them back. It was impossible to hold a line against hundreds of thousands of men with 80,000 men thinly displayed, some in the rear as well. So in the end, they were pushed back into these positions. What they kept, we were nearer the British end of the line. The French were up by Verdun. But we kept our lines, we dug in, and eventually the retracted battle, you know, that kind of attrition battle where you kind of get rid of the next people, you bleed them dry sort of thing, that set in. So yes, we're marching up to the churchyard now. We're hoping to see something of Mr Adler, Lieutenant Adler's grave. We don't know if he's got a gravestone up here. If he has, we will clean it up, make it look pretty. But if he hasn't got a gravestone, guys, we'll look inside the church, because I've heard there's a monument to him. He was well loved, Brierleyan, if that's what you want to call people, Brierleyan. So yeah. Brilliant. A brisk walk. Oh man, this is a video I've wanted to do for a while. World War I's always interested me, and World War One and our history's always interested me. I've got members in my family that I know fought and died in World War II. They're on the monument up there. Jack Bedard. When I saw Jay Bedard up there, I'd had no idea about him. And I asked my dad when he was alive. He told me, yeah, he died in building the Great Railway, the Burma Railway in Burma. And he's actually buried out there. I'd love his remains to be brought back home. I've got a lovely picture of him. I don't know if I can find him on a horseback. But yeah, so we're passing the post office again now. And we're off to the church. Right, so we're passing the post office again now, guys. Bertie boy on the machine. Crossing the road up to the church. It's been a nice day filming. The weather's been brilliant today. It's been a nice day for it. But it just boggles the mind, doesn't it? All those hundreds of men setting off for Warsaw. How many of them would have made it through the war? Some would have come back invalided, out, gone, because they were ill, legs blown off, maimed. But the majority would have been killed outright. And they would have received a telegram, the dreaded telegram. You know, not my pleasure to tell you that your son and daughter, or son, I keep saying son and daughter, because obviously there were women in our army today, and women get killed as well, and they deserve their place. Right, matey, good stuff. And the amount of people that got killed in that war is phenomenal. Hey, Burt, a lot got killed, eh? World War One. We're going to go to the church now, yeah? Let's go. We're passing that beautiful old pub. We did a video here not so long back. It's been secured since I went in last. Probably a good thing, because the front of that is nothing holding that up, guys. But that is the oldest pub in Brierley Hill by far. The oldest pub was the Bell up the top here. This is Bell Street. So the old Bell was up there on the left, which is why the up this way is fine. The entrance to the church used to be further down the gully because it didn't want to be near the pub. So the pub's older than the church, and the church is old. So you can see the old gateway here. I've done a video on this. Check it out, guys. I'll put it up above if you want to look at that. It's interesting. Explore vid. But yeah, so we're walking up now to the beautiful St Michael's Church, built in the 1700s, I believe, 1750s, something like that. And a lot of the men of Brierley Hill that died in the First World War are commemorated here. Not all of them, but some. And I wonder if we can find Mr Alden's grave today, Lieutenant Alden. You know, just amazing that he went all the way through the war and he never come back. He looks like a stern man, like a respectful man. And as a lieutenant, obviously, he was an officer. But, you know, don't think today officers do a job in the back of the lines and they do the front line, but the risk is sometimes lesser than the men. But during World War One, the officers, they were up front with the men, you know, for the first time in the history of the humanity, or England at least. Higher classes were mixing with the lower classes, you know, in the trenches. And often these captains and officers, they looked at them as like fathers. But a lot of them were only 17, 18 years old, fresh out of Sandhurst. The beautiful church now. Don't know if it's open. Is it open? Let's see. It was acting as a library. No. That's that. Why is the church not open? Well, inside there, you can't see it. But inside there is a monument to Mr Allden. But there's some white stones there. Let's see if we can find it, Bert. Let's see if it's one of these guys. But yeah, that's it really for today, folks. We just wanted to show you all about the first day of war in Brierley Hill. Oh, little tiny grave, how sad. Can't be the first one we come to, surely. Let's look at some of the dates. 17 years old, guys. 30th of April, 1915. So a local man, he would have been one of the men that answered the call. Conscription came in a bit later, I believe. There was a call from Kitchener, your country needs you. And a lot of men joined up. Their friends would join up with them, and they called them Pals Brigades. Problem with that is, if one Pals Brigade had a particularly bad battle, you could have a whole street receive the telegram on the same day. You know, whole streets were wiped out. But it was a good way to join up, because if you felt scared about joining the army and leaving your friends, you didn't have to. Me and my mate John, you know, me and Burt had joined together, sort of thing. Well, yeah, I did read that the grave for him was inside. There was a monument inside for Mr Allden, Lieutenant Allden. But it seems, is it this one here? I don't think I like these gravestones. They're like teeth. So many teeth of a monster. It's not very sharp. A large Worcestershire regiment. No, again, 1919? The war ended in 1918. That's strange. He must have died of his injuries. Oh, how sad's that? So he went through the war, got injured. 1919, September, it was late into 1919 as well. But the war was killing people well after it ended. I mean, on the last day, over 700 men died. Which is really bad, isn't it, really? 700 men on the last day. So, yeah. What's that, dude? I think there might be. Let's have a look. I don't know. What a sunset, folks. What a sunset. Right, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Burt, for coming along and being cameraman today. He has been a big help. I hope you enjoyed that one. Just a little one to get us back into the flow. I've been off for a little while because I've had a problem with my phone, as you probably know. But I've got all my equipment back now. The next one's going to be one on bottle digging, I hope. And we're going to do the hard seal bottle dump and just tell you a little bit about why it is there, some of the stuff we're finding. But yeah, that's it. Beautiful church we've ended on. The first day of war, guys, you know, what a tragedy it was and what a hellscape it became. But these brave men set off from Brierley Hill with people cheering and singing and wives crying, a lot never to return. So yeah, thanks for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you on the next one. Thanks, Burt.